the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always
Hey, wrestling card collectors! Welcome to another edition of WTCtv. And today, I tracked this guy down, and I really wanted. I thought it was kind of interesting as I was doing image uploads for the checklist for the 1994 through 2001 WWF Bendham cards. I saw this guy's name on some of the cards. I said, you know what? I got to go search him out. It's like that. This guy's got over 25 years as an illustrator. He's a sculptor, toy designer. He's worked on some great projects for Marvel, DC, IDW, toy designer for also Marvel and JusToys and 20th Century Fox. You guys probably seen his work on like ROM and G.I. Joe, Core, X-Men, Youngblood, tons of stuff this guy's done. I've got the great Dorian, guy Dorian Sr. I'm all stubbled here. How are you, sir?
How you doing? I'm good. I'm good, and I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you're running this stuff again. There's a lot of people out there who are interested in this stuff, and it's good to have guys like you who really know all this stuff and who've done a million things as far as wrestling and way beyond wrestling to still give us the time to view and be involved in these things. So my applause to you, sir.
Thank you. We specialize, obviously, it's in our name. It's not just a catchy phrase. It's what we do, wrestlingtradingcards.com. And like I said before, I was going through doing image uploads, and I couldn't help but notice that I saw your signature on, it looks like the first 4 series of that particular line of figures anyways. And I go, I wonder if this guy is around. If he's knows what's been going on with wrestling cards, all this time, and how much that his work is kind of appreciated by especially wrestling card collectors out there. It's just so I reached out and I didn't hear anything at first. And I go, okay, well, maybe not. And then you finally got back and said, hey, that's an old email address I don't really use that much. I use this one more. I'd love to do it. And I'm like, cool, I got to get this guy on.
Yeah, well, I apologize. What happened actually is I did so much of this stuff when I was younger, right? And I'm still doing it, obviously. It's been almost 30 years actually, but yeah. I do what my job is, I get paid and I move on. So like the 4 years you said, what happened was I had a child born, and I also went to go work with 20th Century Fox on the Tick, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I was the initial and main designer of that WWF Titan Sports JusToys Bendham's line. I did everything from scratch from the beginning, and then set the path for everyone to follow for the rest of the, whatever it was, 14 or 16 waves of that stuff. Unfortunately, they thought they might do better. I'm not saying knocking anyone. I think it was great. I understand they were, as time went on, they changed the proportions to be more realistic in some ways and everything.
Sure.
But the problem was the idea of the original designs were that they were fun. Mm-hmm. And the fun came out of a lot of that, even though that line kept that entire company going. When they stopped doing everything else, I mean, they were doing Mario, they were doing Power Rangers, they were doing stuff for Marvel, they were doing Star Wars. The only line that kept them going was the WWF line that I designed.
Well, so how were you first approached about working on the WWF Bendhams, and what was it like working with that company?
You want the truth, or do you want the truth? The funny stuff? Okay,
we don't pull any punches. We talk shit all the time. So whatever you want to say.
All right. So I'm like 20-something years old. I was an assistant way back in the day when Marvel still had a bullpen, and Marvel was up there. I think it was the same building as JusToys. I think so, or was right next to it. And I found out about that because what I would do was, I never went to college, but I knew that if there was no cell phones, youngins out there, by the way, there was nothing like that. Okay. I don't even remember them. Yeah, there were beepers, but there was nothing like that. We just had phones that came off the walls.
We had pay phones and we had pagers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I would go to the stores, and even though I was working at Marvel and everything, I still said, I want to make toys. I love toys. I love action figures as a kid and even as a grown-up. So I said, okay. And what happened was, well, I'll just go real fast. I first started working at Toy Biz because I was hanging at the Marvel offices. Everyone knew me. I had already started working there when I was like, for paid work, but not published work, from when I was like 19 or 18, 19. And then I kept working until I started working there. And then I was hanging out at the office, and John Romita's office was there. I don't know if you know who that is,
Yep.
but yeah. So John says to me, I said, hey, John, I see a door that's like right next to your office. It says Toy Biz on it. It's near the X office. And he goes, yeah, that's Toy Biz. We own that, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you going over there? I said, well, maybe you could, introduce me, because the door's closed. So he goes over, he knocks on the door, he says, this is guy Dorian Sr, he works here, blah, blah, blah. And I walked in there. That moment, I got a job. Moment, I got a job on Silver Surfer. And so I worked on designs for the Silver Surfer stuff. I don't even remember exactly what it was, because they did all kinds of products. So it was a product thing, and it was also for the animation. They shared a lot of the art for things like that would be for that. It might also be for like some of the animators to take a look at. Oh, this is the way you draw this character, and this is the kind of look we were looking for. So I got working there, but lo and behold, check this out. I'm young. It's 19 blah, clickety clack, and I'm still at the age of Marvel, where all the greatest greats are there. John Buscema walking in and out of the doors,
Wow.
But the toy companies paid 3 times the amount per page of work. I went, holy shit. So from that moment on, I kind of transitioned right over to toys, because it was like, how could I not? I was already working at Marvel. Let me go do some toys. Here's my shot. Then I went through the aisles at Toys R Us. If anyone remembers it, yeah, Raise the Roof on Toys R Us. Love that. It was my childhood. So
a lot of our childhoods.
A lot, right? So I went through there, right? And I would take this is something anyone should do, okay? I don't care how much college you have or anything, you go and you find out the information of the company you want to work for, know what they're doing, know what they're making, and know what your role would be there. So I went there and I took the boxes off. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, there's a Ramon.
Yeah.
So I took the box off, and it had the information of who they were. I said, all right, I'm going to call information, because that's what you had to do, kids.
Yep.
You call information, you say, I have an address, I need the phone number. And if it's a business, they're going to give it to you. They gave it to me. What do I do when I call there? Well, okay. I grew up in the streets, so here's how it went. Okay, you ready now?
I'm ready.
We're there. I'm going in past them all the time, going to Marvel. I didn't have to go past them, but I needed to get to them, but I didn't know anyone. I had their information and the kind of toys that they were doing. So I said, okay. Dial the phone, pick it up. How you doing? Lady answers at the reception. I said, hi, this is blah, blah, blah. And your name is? First thing I do, write it down. And she tells me her name. She said, blah, blah, blah. What is your inquiry? Who are you trying to reach? I said, well, it's a funny thing. I was at Toy Fair and I met this guy. He gave me a number, but I don't know the name on it. It's too messed up. I can't read it. But I have the number, and he said, if I call there, you could get me in touch with someone in the art department to do some work for you guys. She said, could it be this? I said, I'm not sure, but that sounds familiar. So what was so thanks, Jane. And who is it you're going to be connecting to? I don't know. It's either going to be Josh, Joe, or Mike. Okay. So the phone rings over there. She sends me over there. Hi, is this Josh? No, this is Joe. Hey, Joe, how you doing? I was just talking to Jill or whatever I said her name was. And she's a great person. He goes, yes, she is. I'm like, oh man, great. It's great to talk to you. And what's your inquiry? Somebody gave me the information for this at Toy Fair because I'm an artist, and they said I should be working for you guys. So then he goes, blah blah blah. I said, really don't know his name. I said, is there somebody else that I should be talking to? He goes, actually, yeah, the head of the department is blah. What's his name? Okay, write his name. Transfers me over. I get this guy, so it's Joseph or whatever now. And I go, oh, how you doing, Joseph? Hey, how you doing? What's your name? I was just talking to Josh. He's awesome. Married too, whatever, what do you do? I said, well, I'm an artist, and everyone's telling me I should go work for you guys. So do you think, I work over at Marvel, and I'm in and out of the city, and I'm going to be there like for the next couple of weeks, almost every day. You got any time during that time? I just need 5 minutes. 5 minutes, John, to come show you my stuff. Well, I said, I tell you what, give me 3 minutes. We got that. He goes, you know what? All right, you're going to be up here anyway. Just ring in for me. Sure as shit, I'm in the door. I go there on the day that it was, which was a day I was not going to go at all. I had no plans upon it. Go up there, bring my stuff. They're like, this is great. You draw awesome, but we don't draw this kind of stuff. You're like superheroes and all that. It's all harsh lines and hatch work. We don't do all that. We do designs. I said, yeah, but I know that stuff. I said, I tell you what. We got 2 more minutes. I tell you what, I'm not even going to take that time. I said, what I'm going to do for you is you give me a project that you would be giving to someone else, and I will do it for less money. Not only will I do it for less money, but be fair to me, but not only will I do it for less money, but if I do as good a job as the other guy, you keep me working, and then you give me a fair wage. Fair enough. I said, you don't have to pay me if I don't do a good enough job. So I don't remember what it was that I did for them, the first job I did for them, because I was doing all kinds of stuff. Sure as shit, I brought it up there. Great job. All right. And then what I did was I showed up to fix and make changes in-house. I was not an in-house artist. I said, you know what? How about I stay here and I'll just do any changes or corrections here, and you can tell me what you want as you go. Do you find a nook or something somewhere? They found a nook for me. So now what I did was I created my own space at their office, and everyone's asking, who is this guy? You see? So then everyone's asking, who am I? So they come up to me and start talking to me. Now I get to know everyone. Now I know everyone in the department by the time the day is over, and they're seeing what I'm doing, that I'm working there at their office. I make the changes, give it to guys, happy. I go home. Then we start faxing. Yes, there was a thing called faxing, back and forth like that. And that's how I started with JusToys. And I did all kinds of stuff with them.
How did you go from being an artist who's doing illustrations, penciling, and then going into actually doing molding and sculpting?
Well, sculpting and stuff like that was later. I don't do the molds and stuff.
Okay, you don't do that. Okay.
I mostly at that time dictated what would be sculpted or molded, and then if it came out wrong, we talk about it, and then I'd say what I did and why I did it that way and blah blah blah, and then they would relay it. But those back then at that time, I wasn't necessarily. After that, at Gordy International, my brother was doing some, and then I would do some, but that's the way it worked, because I also worked with other companies and on 20th Century Fox stuff and everything like that. And then later on,
did you have any direct relationship with WWF at the time and having to get approvals?
Oh yeah, everything went through Titan Sports, WWF. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, because I grew up as a wrestling fan.
I was going to ask you if you grew up as a wrestling fan.
Hell damn yeah, man. My brother and I, Superfly Snooker fan club, and we wait for Bob Backlund to walk out like this, and the Iron Sheik to come out, and what was his name? Tony Atlas, who was once a bodybuilder. And,
oh yeah, Mr. USA.
Rocky Johnson, who I actually had the opportunity to have dinner with at one point. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Rowdy Roddy was my favorite. And then I mean, everybody, George the Animal Steel, Andre, Hulk Hogan was around. And then later was Macho Man, Randy Savage. Oh yeah, brother, all that stuff. And how could you not? I mean,
Well, you're Northeast. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's the hotbed for WWF anyways. I mean,
absolutely. Well, we're also nuts over there anyway. So it's
correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys, and you said you have brother and stuff like that. You guys collected wrestling stuff like
Well,
figures
we
as a
collected,
kid.
yeah, we were poor as shit. I mean, when I say poor, I mean like welfare, stand on line for cheese, don't have a bed, you got to sleep on a mattress on the floor, no clothes like regular people. All our stuff was 3 sizes too big, had to wear
How did you get exposed to wrestling?
We had a black and white TV that was 13 inches.
That's a big screen back then.
Yeah, it got like 4 stations. And the WWF was on there, man. And that was it. Once we saw also magazines, we were collecting comics when we didn't have money, but our aunt and uncle used to help us because they wanted to do something for us. So what they would do is they would come over almost every weekend that they could, and which was a lot though. And they would bring us to go like, hey, we're going to get you a hamburger. And we're like, at McDonald's, a hamburger? They're gonna make you a steak. But what we're also gonna do is we're gonna take you to a comic book shop where they also sell wrestler magazines.
Oh.
So there was all this wrestling stuff there with the comic stuff. So we would so we would go see the comics, we see the wrestler stuff right there on the same rack. So we got exposed to that and then watching whatever we could. And then eventually, I don't remember how many years, I don't think it was many, maybe 1 or 2, we had a color TV eventually before my mother passed away when I was young, and then we had to move out. But we always loved wrestling. And the way we got the Superfly Snuka fan club thing was my aunt paid for it. She would say, well, what can we do? What can we get you? Because they wanted to make our world a little better. So they would buy us toys and comic books and any wrestler stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think most little boys in the last 40 years have been exposed to wrestling at some point in time and gravitate towards it as like these larger than life characters and superheroes. I mean, here you are exposed to comics and you're reading about superheroes, and now you're seeing wrestlers who are like real life type superhero type people,
Well, I gotta say, McMahon is a damn genius. If you ever watch this McMahon, you're a genius, dude. I mean, he really was a genius. He is a genius. I mean, he knew what to do. And you know what? They're still doing it in many ways. You go to the toy store and you'll see it on the shelves. You just go to you just watch the WB. Like, I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. Love Scooby-Doo. I have a shirt with me wearing it from the time I was 2 years old or 1 year old. Still love Scooby-Doo. I turn on the HBO Max and they have Warner Brothers, and lo and behold, Scooby-Doo has movies with the WWF. I was like, what the hell? They were the best ones. And now you got WWF with what is it, Masters of the Universe action figures with WWF.
Yeah.
I mean, they said, hey, listen, these are superheroes, and they always had these storylines, always had these kinds of storylines. And my wife is getting in the picture. Okay, they always had these.
It's all good.
They always had these storylines, and they were always larger than life, as you know. I mean, look at George the Animal Steel tearing up the turnbuckle, the Samoans, and Superfly and Rowdy Roddy Piper with the what do you call that thing that they play the music on? Bagpipes and all that. I mean, that's crazy. They're superheroes. It's superheroes and supervillains.
Very true.
And they kept that along. They kept that going with, what was his name, Mr. Perfect and all that stuff. Looking at him, it was heroes and villains, man.
Well, when you came into that, and this first line came out, the first series came out in 1994.
Yeah.
And that first series was a 5-figure series. It had Bret Hart, it had Diesel, Doink, Lex Luger, and Razor Ramon. I mean, whose idea was it to, like, you know what? We have a packaging. We have these figures that we want to do. So we got the figure design all done. Now we have a packaging. Whose idea was it to like, hey, let's make a cutout trading card?
That was their idea. I think it was, I don't know if it was because I was a comic book artist or not. I never got the idea for that. We were talking about it and they're like, can you do trading cards for us? And I was like, yeah. So it wasn't my idea to do the trading cards, but I might have influenced the idea. I'm not sure on that.
Were you big on trading cards even as a youth? Like, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
obviously you said, baseball cards. Most guys got
Right.
baseball and
Well,
basketball.
I worked
and
at
football.
Marvel. So Marvel, we did trading cards, comic books, and all
Sure.
that stuff, you know. So it was all merch stuff, but a lot they did trading cards there too. And I would assume that was what the issue was, because when you work with artists, you want to know what their strengths are, and you want to put that artist on there. But there's a funny story about those trading cards that no one knows.
I'd love to hear it, man, because those first, you're responsible for the first 4 series. It's all of your artwork because it all has your signature on it, except for the last 1 or 2, like big.
Yeah. They
like
went.
Vader doesn't have your signature on it, but it's clearly your artwork though.
Oh no, it's mine. It's mine. Yeah. It's definitely mine. And like I said, I left to go work with 20th Century and Gordy and stuff. So that's why I went to work on the Tick, and Hercules and Xena were popular then. I worked on that and all that stuff. But what happened was, so when you're working on comics, this is what they didn't understand. No one knows this. Mm-hmm. When you work on comics, so you'll draw the comic. Let me show you an illustration. So like this is for my new thing with Larry Hama.
Okay.
He's G.I. Joe Larry Hama. Stuff. He's one of my best buds and we work together on all that stuff. This is a thing called Mounties vs. Werewolves we're working on, right? So I will draw, this is inked actually by Kevin Conrad, who worked for Spawn and Kiss, Psycho Circus. And my other inker is Sal Buscema. I don't know if you heard him, he's very famous. Anyway, so I'll draw it like this. And then what they used to do is take this, make a photocopy, and then they would color it and put codes on it for the printer, color code it.
Okay.
RX54, RX53, RX, whatever. I don't remember the actual, because I wasn't the colorist. So what I was doing was I did the cards, I drew them, I inked them in the style. I have to say, the reason what the style was necessarily was, it was that they had the wrestling buddies. Remember wrestling buddies and stuff like that? So the characters were like this. So Titan wanted to keep the character that way. I did not. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, your screen share. Oh, you have all the cards. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. So I was asked to do them and draw them. And then what I was doing was color guides for them to take it. And then for when it's printed, they have a color separator, a printer, separate the colors and use the codes to create the, I don't know the full printing process, the plates that need to be made so that it would then look like a graphic color in a comic book.
Typically, printing plates will be basically out of 4 colors. Would be it's usually black, cyan, magenta, and yellow.
Yeah, there you go. So, but what they did was they printed my actual color guides. Nobody knows that. These were not supposed to be printed. They were supposed to be edited by the printer to come out like a comic book printing. But they never did it before. So that when they did this, when they printed it, they actually printed the original color guide, which I wasn't even trying to do in a great fashion because it was just a guide. So that's like, no one has ever known that before, by the way. So you got that.
Breaking news.
Yeah. So
after almost 30 years.
After, like 30 years. So if you look at like Bret Hart, and we got Diesel, we go to All here, and we go to Doink the Clown, Lex, and we go to Razor, 1-2-3 Kid. Now look at 1-2-3 Kid. It starts getting a little more real sometimes, and it's got a little more color design going on, a little more realistic looking color happening.
Yep.
And then you go to British Bulldog. I'm still keeping it cartoony to match the figures, but you could see that the coloring quality starts rising because once I found out, I was like, oh shit, you're printing these? I had no idea. You didn't show me the proofs. I thought I was getting proofs in. So when you get all the way over to like Gold Dust, you can see Gold Dust has like all this, you know, it's a bit more realistic because I wanted to do it a bit more like the guys.
Yep.
You know, so what I did was I started mixing it up. I was like, okay, you want it cartoony, but I want to do a little bit of it a little more realistic. So let me do one or two and do it a little more realistic. So they let me. I think I did more. I thought I did more cards than that though. Yeah, Sunny. And
There's a couple that are missing that we don't have images for yet. We're trying to get those images. So like,
like
we're missing a
like
couple.
Mark Moreau here in my hand.
Correct. Yep. Need
You know?
that one. I need an image of that. I need an image of Sunny.
Yeah, and I think there's some more, but either way, so that's what happened. So like I know Razor,
Yep.
Scott Hall was one of the first ones, you know.
He's in series 1. Yep.
Yeah, and you could see how it was different and it progresses. And then, so I didn't go too crazy because I didn't want it to change too much. But if you look at the Sunny card and then you look at Mark Moreau, where did I have it? I just put it down.
I'm a big fan. I love the Yokozuna one. Pretty badass.
Oh yeah, and Yokozuna, is he there? Oh yeah,
Yep.
he's there. You could see some of the body construction is a bit more realistic as we were playing with. Should we do it in a more realistic? I wanted to do it in a little more of a realistic fashion, to have a little more of the actual actors, actual wrestlers, professional wrestlers, a little more of their likeness for them.
It's funny how they wanted you to go work off the comic-y type of stuff. You wanted to go more real. And as soon as you leave and the next series 5, they started going more real.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to bring it to that way, but I also thought that to hold off a little though, because if they're not changing the design of the figures, I didn't think that they should change the design of the cards, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah, because the series should remain the way it at its idea, you know, what was the series supposed to be, then that's what it would be, you know. But I mean, I love the cards. I love what they did afterwards. I wish I was still there to do the cards as well, that were more realistic, because I can do realistic artwork. It just was that this is what they wanted, because the target audience was also, they noticed that adults were also buying them.
Well, I mean, it's a brilliant marketing ploy on that anyways, because they did them before with like LJN figures where they had these cutout designs on the backs of them as well that have become highly collectible. But it's the best of both worlds for people. It's people who like action figures and people who like trading cards. It kind of works for both.
Yeah, I did a lot of trading cards for Marvel and DC. And
I mean, those old ones like that, you're talking like 1991 Impel and things like that. And then Skybox would do some stuff back in the day. Fleer.
Yeah, I got to tell you though, like I was talking about before, so people know, to do one of these trading cards paid me 3 times the amount, maybe almost 4, of doing one comic page at Marvel at the time.
Why is that?
Toy industry is different. They have different funds allocated in different ways, and I can't say that I can't say necessarily, because I was never one of the guys who pays people. So I don't want to tread on things that I don't really know too much about. But I will say they have money allocated and a budget per project. And if that's their rates, that's their rates, you know.
You got to go where the cash is at, man.
Yeah. And who are you working with? Are you working with Mattel? Are you working with this one? Are you working with that one? So because 20th Century contacts a company that creates toys and says, we want to hire you, because that's how it works a lot of times. It's not like the toy companies go, we're going to make this. We do now. I have my own toy company I'm starting now, which you guys are going to find out about. That's going to have wrestlers and everything, man. Because I figured if everyone else is copying my stuff, why shouldn't the freaking originator do it?
I was going to, you know, it's one of my questions I had for you. We'll just jump real quick to that. Like, have you seen the recent 2021 Major Wrestling Fig podcast, Bendies?
Is that what's his name?
Matt Cardona and
Matt, yeah, and I have a story about that too. I mean, I love that Matt loves that stuff. I really do. We were talking, we got to talking because he had asked me if maybe I could do some trading cards for his set, because I know he's a big fan of it. But
Yep.
let me put this in perspective for everyone for a moment, though. You have to understand, like, so like Larry, my buddy Larry Hama, he did not know that G.I. Joe he was gonna be the G.I. Joe guy, right? He did not know that. So I did not know that I had such a big role in a lot of people's growing up. I didn't pay attention that my work was everywhere. Now, I didn't do these cards. This was another guy. Yeah. But it's great stuff. I think the guy did a great job.
It pays homage to you. It pays, I think, really good homage to your work.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He asked me to do it, right? And Matt was a cool guy. The problem is I was working on some movies. And I couldn't just, I work in the movie industry as well now. So I could not just, they have their hold on you. And if Matt asked me to do some stuff, what if I said yes and they called me while I'm working on that and there's a deadline? I didn't want to disappoint Matt.
Of course.
Because like I said, what I was saying is I did not know. I started getting message. There was a Instagram post, and it was WWF wrestling stuff, and I think it was trading cards actually. And I said, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed designing that from scratch, or something like that." And after that, I had no clue that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of fans of the stuff that I created. Millions of homes have this stuff. They collect it. I had no clue. And then I get messages, bam, 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 bam. My message, emails, Instagram messages, and everything. And I was like, holy crap, what did I do? And everyone said, did you really do this stuff? I was like, yeah, why? They're like, everyone has been searching for your ass, dude. I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad you liked it. And then it happened again and again. I looked at the next message and the next message. And then it just kept perpetuating. And I was like, holy smokes, people love this stuff. And yeah, I understand, because the designs that I made were the beginning of that line. And that line, from what a lot of people say, including Mr. Matt Cardona himself, says it's one of the best wrestler lines of all time, not just wrestler Bendables. So I was like really touched by that. And I had no idea that he personally cared so much about it. And I felt horrible after I couldn't do it, because, he contacted me back, and I think he's mad at me now. Matt, if you're watching this, dude, I will do some cards for you if you want. I am actually not a douche. I just didn't want to disappoint and not come through when you wanted me to. But I would love to do anything with you, man. But I would love to do it for anybody now. Once I found out how much people loved it.
It's nostalgia. I mean, it captures an era. First, you have a lineup of people that are, it's like, that's a great era of talent that you did artwork for that time, with The Undertaker and Yokozuna and Bret Hart and Razor Ramon and Diesel. I mean, there's a lot of Hall of Famers there.
Yeah.
And so people kind of gravitate towards those as like, the debate in wrestling cards has always been like, what's a true rookie card? And because of, different types of characters that someone, personas, like, is it Kane or is it Isaac B. Yankem? Is it Stone Cold Steve Austin or is it Stunning Steve Austin? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, but then like, is it have to be a pack pulled card to be a rookie card or a first appearance? And there's some great cards that are part of this Bendam line that people are getting stuff graded by grading companies.
Yeah, and they should. And if they can also bring it to me and bring someone to grade it and grade the signing too, as well. I know there's a fee usually, but I don't mind. But I mean, I believe that this was Diesel's first card, I think, from what I'm told, but I don't know if that's true. If it is, cool. It's definitely one of the first. And I was also told that this might be the first figure of him, but I don't know if that's true.
Possibly the first figure, because obviously the character who played Diesel is Kevin Nash, and before
Right,
that,
right.
and before that, he was in WCW before he
So then
was in
he
W.
probably had a card then before that.
He it's tough to call. I can't remember if he actually has. You think I would know this, but I don't. I'm almost certain he didn't have an Oz, or he
But
didn't
he
have
didn't have a toy yet, right?
I don't think he had a toy. It might be.
Right.
You
So
might be right. It might be his first. I'll have to
I
figure that
thought
out.
I thought Matt was actually the one who said this was the first on his
Oh, if
podcast.
anybody's gonna know, definitely Matt would know.
Yeah, yeah, because Matt, I heard again, if you're listening to this, I want to see it. I heard that Matt got the Dink the Clown prototype.
I think he did.
Because I thought if he did, I want him to show that to me if he's still not pissed off at me. And Matt, I'm sorry, man. I really am. I really wanted to go do something with you. But either way, yeah, Matt seems. I watched his podcast, I gotta say, and this is, the reason why I'm talking about Matt is because you brought him up, and the other thing is, guys like you and Matt and everybody. When we were growing up, if I told people that I did martial arts from the time I was like 7 years old and shit, and then I did boxing and everything.
Good, you and me both.
Yeah. I did that for like 15 years, and the thing is that when you're in those crowds and you go, "Hey, I collect toys."
Yeah. Yeah.
The latest trading card of Diesel.
Yeah. You kind of have to take karate and boxing to defend yourself for saying that.
Right. But now guys like him and stuff like that, and guys like me who say, "Hey, we do this other stuff." I've been to China. I've done martial arts everywhere and sparring around the world with masters and everything. And still, when I come home, this is my table. I got my Masters of the Universe figures. I got everything. I'm drawing comics. It's not that I don't.
You got a Rampage upright behind you too.
Do I? Where is it?
An upright machine.
Oh, Rampage. Yeah. Yeah, I have that. And I have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original pinball machine over there too.
Yeah. Which people today now will look like, "That's so badass, man. I wish I would have had something like that."
Right.
But when we were kids, people like beat the hell out of you for that kind of stuff.
You could watch wrestling, you could love this stuff, but the toys were a different story.
Yeah.
So I love that he is you watch him go, and he's at the toys conventions, and he's at the shops, and he's looking through everything. He's telling everything what it is, and he collects it all.
Yep.
And I saw a post recently by a female writer who posted about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's actually is on the same monument as my name in the Shaolin Temple, because he is friends with and trained with my grandmaster as well, him and Robert Downey Jr. So anyway, so I'm looking up for what he's involved in, and I get this thing, and this writer says, what is this all about? Something like that. Mike Tyson liking action toys, is a toy collector. That's odd. And I felt like, wow, the fact that somebody thinks it's odd that just because people train in boxing, fighting, wrestling, all that stuff, we're grown men and everything, that we can't like that stuff anymore. I thought to hear stuff like that today, it made me appreciate guys like you and myself, I guess, because I perpetuate it, and Matt and stuff who perpetuate this. No, we can still do all that stuff. It doesn't take anything. We're comfortable in who we are. Yeah, we still love that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. And don't judge us by the way we look and the act. I try to be all like this at conventions now, because I grew up in the East Coast and tri-state area, rough neighborhood. So you're gonna be this way all the time, and you don't even mean to. You're just like, hey, whoa, my space, dude. What are you trying here? So, but that doesn't mean that I'm a dick or that I don't want, I'm too cool to,
Well, pop culture conventions, as Comic-Cons have grown over the years, and me, myself, like I told you off air, I've been doing, Comic-Cons for almost 28 years now. they've come a long way. I mean, these are places where nerds and geeks can go to hang out and be accepted by others. And then it became a cultural thing where people are like, it's acceptable. It's
Well,
all
I don't,
acceptable.
I haven't done it yet, but if you ever want me to come out, I'll go out to any of those things you're doing, man.
Yeah,
And you got to introduce me to Kevin Nash.
absolutely.
I've been waiting to meet him for a long time, and I wanted to work with him at some point on something. I just thought he was the coolest freaking dude, man.
He's the coolest laid back dude you'll ever meet. I would openly invite you to come down. I'm running my very first convention after 27 years now. I'm running my first convention September 16th and 17th in Tampa,
Oh,
Florida.
That might work, dude. That might. Let's talk.
And Kevin's going to be one of my guests.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, let's talk, man, because I haven't done Florida yet.
It's a wrestling convention.
No, that's
strictly
fine.
wrestling.
I'm into wrestling, obviously.
Yeah. So, I have booths available for those who want to get a booth.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's my first time doing a convention. I have a partner who lives out there in Tampa. He's been running shows out there for the last 8 years, and so he knows the market really well.
I have a buddy out in Tampa too, so that would work out well.
September 16th and 17th, topropecon.com, people.
September 16th and 17th. That sounds right. I'll be, yeah, because New York Comic Con I have to appear at, and stuff like that. I have July is okay. Yeah, that sounds actually pretty cool, bro.
You're gonna be at the National in July? The National Sports Card Convention?
Yeah, I don't think so, because I have a Hollywood stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll definitely be there for as a group of us who are going to all meet for the first time, known each other for almost 20 years but never met each other. We're all going to meet for the first time at the National Sports Convention, because
that's badass.
Wrestling has become so, trading cards, like everything else, the entire collectible world has kind of gone on fire due to the pandemic. It's cooled off, but it still maintained a new base floor. Things that were $10 an hour, $100 are not going back to $10 anymore. They're kind of like, pretty expensive.
Yeah,
now.
everything's like that.
So we're kind of we're going to have a voice this year at the National Sports Convention, which is the largest trading card convention on the planet, and wrestling will be very prevalent.
Let me see what my we'll talk afterwards.
Sure.
and during the week and stuff while we're setting something up.
But speaking of these things, then. The market being on fire, trading cards being one of the things, there's so many people out there putting out custom cards now. Custom cards is all the craze. So many of these independent wrestling companies now have found that it's a cheap, easy way to market themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And if I may, I do wrestling illustrations for anybody who needs it.
Absolutely.
I wasn't doing anything for a long time. So that's why I'm letting everyone know.
Kind of leads to my question with you, is like, with so many custom cards being made, have you ever thought about doing something with today's talent? Or, how does that even work? Do you still have, as an artist, how does that licensing rights work? Because as an artist, you're doing an interpretation of a particular subject.
I work with anyone. I want to do, here's my philosophy. So how do you pick your jobs? Because I have a lot of different jobs that come in. I go, well, first it's money. The next thing is what supersedes some of that sometimes. And this doesn't mean call me people and say, will you work with me on pro bono? No, but if I have a family fee, but
absolutely,
if there's a project I can do that I want to do with someone, and we put together teams that work, that make stuff happen, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. So like, if somebody said to me, hey, do you want to do a line of trading cards? You'll get paid this much, and then you'll get paid the royalties, but we're going to do it with these people. Like if it was like Kevin Nash and stuff like that, I go, or today's wrestlers, anything, I would be like, as long as legit people who have done something before, right? I love that stuff. I don't think people understand how much I love it. I grew up with it, dude. So that supersedes me having to take another job that I don't really want to do. Hey, you want to draw this thing for this movie and put this deck together because we can't sell our movie, but if you draw it, we know we'll be able to sell our movie. Yeah, and you'll make $6 bazillion while you pay. I still get paid good money. I do get paid good money for my work at this point. I'm not like an unknown.
Well, as you should.
Yeah. But still, sometimes those people will be like penny pinchers, and you're like, come on, man, you're going to make 10 million on this project. Shut up, dude.
Yeah.
But if somebody says, oh, if somebody said to me, hey, like Matt contacted me, it was just a bad time. But if somebody said, hey, let's do wrestler, I fucking love it, man. I would jump on that shit, because why wouldn't I? It's the coolest thing, man. Like I said, I always thought wrestlers were masters of the universe.
Yeah.
Only in real life, man. It's like they are, and when you think about these, they have to create their own personas. They have to give away that persona to the owner of the company. Like Titan would own that persona for that time or forever or whatever. And I believe, I'm just from what I'm told. And those personas, then they have to act as them. These people who are wrestlers aren't, these are performers too. They're super talented athletes. They take a freaking beating. And I remember when there's people were saying when I was growing up, oh, wrestling's not real. I'm like, listen, when you try jumping off of that rope and telling me you're going to have a broken knee, you're going to have a busted ankle, you're going to have bruises, you're going to have cuts, you're going to have these. I mean, these guys take a damn beating to do this stuff, and they are super athletic. No matter what if they're heavy, they're light, you got to be super athletic. So I have always responded to that athleticism, and then the performance,
Yeah.
I mean, that is iconic stuff, dude.
I mean, anybody who's ever over the years told, growing up, people say, well, it's fake. And I go, yeah, Game of Thrones is real. So
dude, those guys are some of the best. And from everyone that I've met, one thing I did was, as an artist, you come up and you have to do what you have to do. Boxers do the same. You could get paid jack shit while you're getting there. And it's a hard road, especially if you're doing like something like that, like wrestling. That's hard on your body. By the time, if you get to that level, you already beat yourself down, traveling all over the country, working really hard, doing stuff at small venues, risking breaking your back and your neck and everything, just to get there.
Yeah.
And then you get there, you got to do it at the highest level possible.
Yeah.
And then that's why, like when I saw Kevin Nash was later on. I mean, I was watching since way back in the day. And then when I see guys like Kevin Nash, that was like this major new section of wrestlers with Undertaker and Scott Hall and Nash, and all those guys were like the next coming of these greats. And it was like, to be a part of that made me feel so happy. And now I haven't had a chance because I'm working on so much stuff. And then I started watching wrestling again. And I started getting into it again and it's not that I was ever out of it. I just I have 20,000 comics. I've barely read any of them. I don't have the time because I'm creating new intellectual properties. One thing that I do is I'm a master at creating intellectual properties. I know characters, I know story, I know design, I know elements. Like, there's certain things about when I've seen people design toys where some of them are right and some of them are actually not right. But the people designing them, you can't just sculpt a figure. There's all types of things that come into play with that. Also, and I'd like to get back onto the cards, because this is about the cards too. The idea is that these cards go with these figures. That's why I felt when they changed the cards too much, great artwork, not taking anything from anyone. I'm not tearing anyone down to raise myself up. I don't
The figure
like
design stayed the same, but the card work got a little more realistic.
Right. And I understood that because I sort of wanted to do that, but I knew there was a line though, where I did not want to cross to do that. So I left it at where I would do some of the illustrations where the characters be a little more like I'm going to drop everything here. So I'll just stop this right now. But
I mean, how much communication did you have to have with people from Titan or WWF, what you want to call back there?
Well,
I mean,
I was in the room.
You send them proofs and they're like, oh, we like this, we don't like this.
No, I went right to the offices with JusToys, because remember, Titan hired JusToys to do
Correct.
it. So I would be in the office and I would be talking and I would be going over and I would see what they send a fax over. It says this or whatever, change this, change that. And then if I was there or I wasn't, I would get it faxed right to me immediately. When trading card history, I was working on Vader. Who else was it? Vader, Sonny, and a few others.
That'd be series
Psycho-
4, which has got Marrow, Sid, Sonny, and Vader.
Yeah. So I was working on them, but my daughter was being born. They called the hospital to ask if I would get, I think it was Mark Moreau. It might have been Mark Moreau done that evening. I didn't hear you. I'm like, I'm at the hospital right now. So apparently they thought it was that important that they should get the number to the hospital where my daughter was born, and contact me on the day she was born at the hospital. And I'm like, okay, cool. And the same thing happened when I first started, because we started the designs before they came out.
Of course, yeah.
A while before they came out. You need manufacturing, printing, this, that, design elements, how's it going to work, meetings. So I think it was my son's first birthday. They called me during his birthday party and I had to talk to them.
So did you have any say on characters that you wanted to have, or they told you who to draw?
No, Titan was the ones who said.
Yeah.
Titan said, they were the ones who said it. With WWF, McMahon. It had to be signed off. I don't know if McMahon had to sign off on her, but I would imagine he knew about all of it going on. Hey, what's this going on over there? Bring it across my desk. Yeah, that's good. Sign it. Go. Hey, what's that? No, that looks like a pile of dog shit. Come on, man. This is a WWF. Make this better. That was how that worked.
It's quite the history of stuff there, though, because they're just so iconic. And I think a lot of people will just tear open those packages and throw stuff away. So what's remained out there is highly collectible.
I found that out too. And it didn't dawn on me because I still don't throw packages away. I keep them all.
Oh, yeah.
I keep them because why wouldn't I? I would have kept every single card. The problem is I didn't buy my own stuff. If comics, I still don't.
Did they not give you, do you not have, you're the artist in this stuff. Do you not even own the proofs of these? Do you not have copies of these early sketches?
I have some of it, yeah. And that's, people have been asking me to buy some of the stuff. I don't know if you did. I don't know, some other people, I don't remember. It was a million people contacted me. They wanted to buy it. I actually have the photographs they gave me to draw the cards and design the toys that were taken by professional photographers for the WWF. I have those actual pictures with the numbers and what date it was and everything. I have the files they sent me that they made. I have sketches that I did, because to get to the lines, to get to the cards that I was going to actually do, and to get to the final designs. People have bought some of the final designs, but I had to do like 3 rounds of them or 4 rounds of them to get to the finals. So I've sold some of the final designs, but not all the pre-designs. What brought us to that? What was the original design that brought us to that design? Yeah. I still have that stuff. I still have the display artwork, not in the greatest condition, but the only living display artwork from Toy Fair of like Undertaker and a few other people that I hand painted myself, that was on these things that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were promoting, and I think British Bulldog, I can't remember his real name, and maybe Shawn Michaels was there promoting this stuff at Toy Fair. It was my stuff behind them, not only the toys, but the boards that had the stuff on it. That was my actual drawings.
Oh, nice.
I still have some of that stuff. And I found it and I was like, oh, do I still have it? And I found I still have it. So someday I'll sell some of that stuff, but people want to buy it. And I'm like, I'd rather just sell most of it or all of it at one time. because that stuff is major history stuff.
It really
for
is.
anyone who likes it. I mean, it is literally what the designs were all about, because the designs of the cards had to go with the designs of the figures. So it's both, you know, I used it for both.
Yeah.
But it's I do have some of that stuff, man.
I think it'd be cool that with today's market and the craziness that trading cards are right now, that if you had a side project in your busy schedule to design something and put something out even on your own, self-publish.
Well, I have been
Because you
doing,
did you hinted something about that earlier in this conversation. So
people have been asking me, and everyone's duplicating or trying to duplicate or do what they can with the stuff that I designed, and I applaud them. I really do. I think it's awesome that they love it. I've talked to a lot of guys who are like, hey man, I can't believe we're talking blah blah blah, and you know, it's like, I'm so happy to talk to everyone because I love it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
When you love it and people want to talk to you about it, how much they love it, it makes me feel so good. And
I was surprised. When I reached out to you, I was fully prepared to be told like, yeah, not interested.
because I did do that for a while. It was because it was I had a hard time taking in that people cared about the stuff I do. I don't know what it was. It was like, it's just work. I do it. I throw it over my shoulder. But then I started seeing how much people cared about it. And I met some guy at a con once, and he asked me, you know, he loves all my stuff and everything. And I felt really bad after I talked to him, because I didn't mean to say it the way I did. But he's like, well, what motivates you to draw all this stuff? You did that, and you made this, and you've done that, and you done. And I'm like, I want to pay my mortgage.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, I mean, it's just being the honest truth. I mean, we all work and do whatever our craft is. Hopefully it's something we love to do. But we work to make that money because we have bills to pay. I mean, at the end of the day.
You're right. But
But if you love what you're doing and you want to share that passion with others, that's an added bonus.
right. And what I should have said to him is, hey, listen, the first inclination for most jobs is I gotta take care of my family, gotta pay my bills, gotta do that, pay my mortgage. But if you're ask me, do I love everything I work on? No, because a lot of it is to pay the bills. But there is also a lot of the stuff that I do love, like the WWF, the WWE, wrestling, and all that stuff. I love boxing, wrestling, martial arts.
I'm kind of surprised, you know, with your history in the business and making the cards that obviously on these particular figure lines that are sort of, I mean, they're very historical now.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, like, you know, when Topps had the license, because they've recently lost the license, the Panini has it now for WWE stuff. I'm surprised they haven't reached out to you to say, hey, we're going to include a section of like, bring back some nostalgia stuff and have you do like some special bonus art cards for our stuff.
Yeah, but there's one thing you're forgetting. Just because I said that I'm out there all the time now with fans doesn't mean I am with all the companies. So I'm not always easily accessible.
I feel doubly honored now.
No, do you know how many people ask me to do interviews? Dude, so many people have asked me, and I didn't want to reveal some of this stuff. I was going to do my own, and I was like, you know what though? I want to do it with somebody who really gives a shit, like really wants to know about it, really is involved in the industry, because it means more that way. You know what I'm saying? It means more.
For us, for WTC, as we're called, you know, we've taken great pride in the fact that for 20 years now, over 20 years in its earliest versions of the site, when it wasn't known as WTC, it's just that we take great pride in like providing the most accurate information to help collectors understand what they have, what they're looking for. And now with grading being what it is today, having grading companies come to us saying, hey, we kind of noticed on those 1994 Bendam cards, you know, they'll ask us questions. We want to have the answers that people can go like, I want to get my card slabbed. I want to get it graded so I can actually have it encased.
I found out that people were doing that. And like I said, like I'm buddies with Larry Hammond. Larry goes to conventions now at times where he'll bring the G.I. Joe toys and stuff,
which are hugely popular.
and they'll bring people over to watch him sign it and then grade it and then slab it or whatever they do. And Larry's gonna be part of that line. Louise Simonson, one of my favorite writers, female writers. I'm saying she's a female writer, but she's just one of the best writers of all time. Let's get that straight. I just love her to death, and her husband Walter, we're good friends. But she's going to be part of it. And my buddy, I'm really good friends with a guy named Bill Sienkiewicz, who is one of the most famous illustrators of comic books of all time. He's going to be doing something for the new line of stuff I'm doing, the toys I'm doing. So I have something very cool that I'm working on with a buddy of mine, Thomas Chalemi, who has put out his own independent books. But we found a connection together when we did a signing together. And he is very interested in doing toys as well. And he has stores and stuff where he sells this stuff. And I was like, dude, you love wrestling? He's like, yeah, I love wrestling too. You like Masters of the Universe, stuff like that? Which I'm surprised the Masters of the Universe guys haven't contacted me yet. I know they were looking at my profile. I saw that they were looking at my profile, but what are you waiting for, guys? If any of you work at Mattel, just give me a call. You know, you could contact, you'll find me. But I have putting together a universe specifically made by me and designed by me, with all my history of understanding intellectual properties and toys and comics, with the greatest comic book creators of all time. And when I say of all time, I mean of all time. And they will be involved in this toy line, trading card line, and comic book line. So it'll be something very cool, and there will be wrestling stuff going involved. And that's where you and I can talk.
Sure.
Because I'd love to get together with Kevin Nash and you and talk about doing some cool shit, man.
Yeah, it'd be fun, man. It's just such a huge market, and there's so much. Well, you can say there's so much money to be made there, but that's true too. But there's just so much out there that people like just love right now. They love to get things that are different. We have our major manufacturers out there making cards, but then finding some of that off the beaten path type stuff, people love that shit.
Well, let me tell you, I had no idea how many people are becoming independent with their work, because you can promote online, you can produce online.
Oh, the internet's made everything. So the world is a very small place now because of the internet.
Let me tell you, in 2020, I think it was, 2021 went even more than that. And 2022 is on its way in the comic industry and graphic novels for crowdfunding was like $20 million passed hands for crowdfunding for comics. You go look at some of the toys and games and stuff. If you have good people, like I usually only work with the people in the industry there. It's not that I don't work with anyone who hasn't done it before. I do, because that's how they get involved, and I want them involved. But
well, you now are in that position of being up here, and someone has to work with that person.
Exactly. And so people want to work with me, and I say, listen, okay, one of the other reasons is because I usually only work with the best people out there, and I have a history. So me walking in and saying, hey, let's work on some, if that turned out to be, hey, Kevin Nash, let's do something, and you and I and all that, that would just be what I normally do. I work with movies and stuff like that all the time. I'm used to that now. But it's good to bring some other people in who want to join. But it's also great when you're doing crowdfunding, because when you join together as a team with all these great people who have done this, know that, been there, done that, people want to be involved in it. And then what you do is, it's not just for the money. Obviously, we need to make money to produce a lot of this stuff. But what happens is, we're actually putting together like an A team, so that instead of, even though we're doing it independent, it's still an A team. So people get the opportunity to be involved in this A team, and then invest in that A team, and then get rewarded from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for guys like us and creators like myself to do the independent stuff at this time, because then we get to bring to the fans who we understand, because we are fans. We're not corporate heads going blah, 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 make this and then change that 60 times for no reason. for someone who has no idea why we like wrestlers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the control of your own destiny when you start doing things independently.
Yeah,
So
but there's other things that I have that I want to talk about eventually. I don't think I'm going to talk about it today because I want to do my designs of how all those wrestlers, even those toys, as beloved as they are, how I had an idea how to make them even better than they were, but I was stuck at what had to be done. And I don't want to give it away because
well, that'll be a conversation for another day for sure.
yeah, but wait till I show you the stuff that I'll be doing. You'll go, oh, I get it, guy. I get why these are going to be the best ever.
I look forward to seeing that for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I really do appreciate that you actually answered my email. And then we exchanged phone numbers. We talked on the phone for a little bit, got this thing scheduled. I'm glad we got to finally do this. I think wrestling card collectors, they love to hear this kind of shit. They love to hear about the history of some of these cards, how they came about.
If you ever want to do anything where I actually draw something and show you guys from the designs why I drew them the way that I did,
sure,
and then draw them right on camera so people could actually see it happening, I have no problem with that.
Let's do it. Let's do a follow-up as we get a little bit down the road here. So let's do a follow-up, and we'll do that.
Yeah,
we can even stream it live if you want to or something.
Yeah, it would be cool for people to see. I'd like to share that with people. I'm at that stage now where I want to share what made it so freaking awesome, because when that came out, it went everywhere and everyone had the stuff and everyone loved it, and certain things hit like that. And that was one of them, man. That was one of the lines that hit and did. Here
we are almost 30 years later talking about it still. So it meant something because we're still talking about it almost 30 years later.
And I want to thank you for having me on here, man.
Absolutely.
I've been wanting to talk about this stuff for a while, and I never, ever tell people stuff. So
I'm sure you probably, when you do your Comic Cons like that, they want to talk about your comics. They want to talk about, when you're doing the G.I. Joe stuff and ROM and all the things you've been involved in over the years. But I bet you hardly anybody probably comes up and wants to talk about those trading cards, those wrestling cards.
No, they do actually.
Do they really?
No, I've signed them. Yeah, the last time I signed any trading cards was last New York Comic Con.
Oh,
I
stand corrected.
Yeah, no, somebody messaged me today and said that their son heard that they were friends with me on Facebook, because I only let certain people, mostly business people and stuff, and out of the blue, somebody that I friend who's in the movie industry contacted me. My son heard that you're friends with me on Facebook. I'm like, yeah. And she sends me pictures of all the WWF Bendables I did in pristine condition, all in a line in this row. And she says, my son is absolutely out of his mind that you're a friend of mine on Facebook. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, he has them all and everything. He's so amazing. And I just wanted to tell you that he says it's so awesome. I'm like, all right. So then I sent her a little information about it, like, so she could tell him.
Yeah.
Oh, when I did it, it was like this, because people like those little tidbits that they can't get anywhere else.
Sure. Because you were there on the front lines, man, doing this stuff.
That was today, dude.
That's awesome. Where can people follow you? Where can they find you? Where can they check out all your
Instagram,
work?
Go to Instagram. Instagram would be at Guy Dorian Sr. Art. And at ArtStation, they can see some of my portfolio stuff on there. At Guy Dorian Sr. at ArtStation or whatever it's called .com or whatever.
Well, you have GuyDorianArt.com.
Yeah, I don't really post on there that much. But you can go there and see some of the stuff, but if you want to see better resolution images of that stuff, I'm on ArtStation.
Gotcha.
You want me to look it up, or you want me to just tell you later?
You just send it to me, and then I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. You put it in the show notes. I'll send my ArtStation. And anyone, if you want to contact me, just contact me, and maybe I'll have time to do some cards for you, whatever you want to do, man. Even if it's for putting it on your wall. I don't mind. Right now, I'm feeling happy that I want people to be happy. That's all I think about, man. Is I just like to say I lost a friend this recently. Neil Adams
Yep,
was
saw
a
that.
friend,
Yep.
and when I see that, it upsets me a lot, because there's people on our circuit, and you probably have dealt with this for yourself. You get to know them really well in your industry, and then they pass away, and you're like, oh man, I just wish I said this, or I wish I could have
Didn't George just passed away too?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, 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 and yeah, George Perez.
That's Perez.
And you know, I've seen these guys. Rich Buckler was a friend of mine. Herb Trimpe was a really good friend of mine, who did all the Godzilla. He did all the original GI Joe series, all that stuff. And now I'm 50 something years old, and I go, hey, it's time to stop being standoffish and open up to people. They want a trading card, you do the freaking trading card, because the joy on their face is forever, and they say the stuff. If you want to talk about stuff that you never talked about before with somebody, find someone like yourself, and I did, and you found me, but there, and it's like, you know, of course I looked at them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we get over 50 years old. I'm in my 50s as well. So I mean, let's be honest. I always say I'm playing on the back nine right now of life.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So it's like you start to appreciate things a little bit more, and it's kind of like you want to, you know what? I'm tired of being a dick to everybody. I might as well go ahead and start being nice and pay it forward if I can.
Thanks for saying it for me.
And so I totally relate to that. So
Yeah.
I get it. But I do appreciate it, man. I really appreciate your time on here. I hope we can do like a follow-up when we have some more projects to talk about here coming up. And I'm interested in hearing about more wrestling stories, maybe doing that live drawing and stuff like that. Be kind of really kick ass. Seeing some of the cool, prototypes be kind of cool. If you can dig that stuff up, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I dug some of it up, so that would be cool, because I haven't shown some. I showed someone some of it. I think I sent a picture to Matt Cardona with a thing that says Dorian Sr art on, because I didn't want it going all over the place.
Sure.
But
Well, of course, you want to watermark that, man. So it's your property. You do what you need to do with it, protect it. But
yeah, it's like you said, it's the major history of that line.
100%.
But we'll be talking anyway, because I want to talk to you about Kevin and stuff. Dude.
So guys, if they want to make sure you check out our website, wrestlingtradingcards.com. All of our information's on the site. All of our social media stuff is on every single page, the bottom of every page. On this, for the YouTube channel we do, you can like, comment, suggest, share, bitch, complain, whatever. Tell us we suck. Tell us we're great. I don't care. Just as long as you're checking it out, engaging, you learn something from this, and you want to go out there and collect. Share the knowledge of collecting. Collecting is fun. It's okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Tony, I also want to thank you before I go. I just want to make sure that you know that I really appreciate that you're the guy I did the interview with.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate everything you do, because I know what you do now, and it's really cool, man.
Thank you.
You do a great job with that stuff too. I saw.
You're not too shabby yourself there, guy. With that, man, I say we're out.